Hello guys and welcome to the next video, and in this video we will be talking about some advanced features that how to use the OpenAI using the Python code. So in the previous video we had the brief introduction about the OpenAI and the ChatGPT, and we talked about different models that the OpenAI is offering and what are some basic properties of those models. And then we also talked about the pricing for each model, and the pricing is primarily based on the tokens. And we talked about the tokens, that is roughly like 4 5 character is equal to one token in English language. So your input prompt will have certain amount of tokens, your output prompt will have certain amount of tokens. So based on that, the price will be calculated. And why we are talking about the price, we discussed that from now on, we will be using the OpenAI API key. So whenever we will be running any query, or whenever we'll be generating any output, so we will be charged some amount from the OpenAI, because we'll no more be using the free version of the ChatGPT. And we can use any model. We can use like 4.0 or any other latest model. So that is all we have discussed in the previous video. So this is the website of the OpenAI. So you can go through all of this documentation. Here we have the pricing and all. All right. Now what we will do in this video, we will now see that if we want to use any OpenAI model, currently what we have seen that either we can use the chatgpt.com, and here we can interact with the OpenAI model. Okay, and we can log in also optionally, or we can use it without login as well. Or we can also log in on this website, which is openai.com, and there we can access the playground. Okay, and in the playground we have the option of changing the model that we want to use. Okay, so if I log in here, so let me log in. So if you log into the openai.com, you have the option of playground. And we discussed that in the playground we can change the model that you want to use to interact. And again, you can use the system message, and here you can write any prompt. We will be talking more about the system message in the in maybe in these upcoming videos, and we will go through in the details of the prompt engineering. And in the prompt engineering, we will be talking about all of these things in detail about the system message, but we will cover some parts of the prompt engineering in today's video as well. Okay. So again, you can access the model using the chatgpt.com or using this openai.com, and you can use all of that stuff. Now, what we will do in this video, that we will not be using these interfaces. In fact, what we will do, we will be using the Python code in our local system, and then we'll be using the API key to access these models. Okay, which means that once you know how to access any OpenAI model using the Python code, later on you will be able to develop your own interface, your own website, for example. And in the website, you will be using the OpenAI model at the back via the API key. Okay, and so you can use any model that the API, the OpenAI is offering. So the first step to go to the advanced levels and then creating your own interface for the large language models is to know that how to access the OpenAI models using the Python code. So this is what we will do in today's video. Okay, so let's start the whole process. Now, the first thing that we need here is to install one tool which is called the Anaconda. Okay, and to install the Anaconda, you can just click here on free download and then go through the steps. It is easy to install. Now, what is the Anaconda? Anaconda basically allows us to create the virtual environments on our system. Now, what are the virtual environments? Now, again, we will be using different dependencies. For example, we'll be using the pandas and different other libraries. We'll be using the Python, of course. Now, Python has different versions. Some are stable, some are not stable versions. So what we will be doing, although we have Python in our local system, but what we will do, we will create a virtual environment, and we will be going for the settings which are most suitable for us. For example, we'll be using a specific version of Python, we'll be using the specific version of OpenAI, and so on. So that is the benefit of using the Anaconda. We can create the virtual environments, and once we will use the Anaconda, you will see that it is very easy to use. So you need to download the Anaconda, and the other thing you need is to download the Visual Studio Code. So we need some code editor, and the one that I'm going to use is the Visual Studio Code. Okay, so you can download both of these platforms. So once you will install and download the Anaconda, so you will be able to see here. Uh, one second. Yeah, you will be able to see the Anaconda prompt if you just type on the search. So Anaconda prompt, this is what will be mentioned, and the Anaconda navigator, and some of these apps will be visible. So which means that the installation is successful. Okay, and then next we will see that how to make use of the Anaconda. So once the installation is done, what you will have to do is to open the code, open this editor. Okay, open this editor here, which is the Anaconda prompt. Okay, so you click here on Anaconda prompt. So this prompt editor will be open there. Okay, so once this has been done, now what we need to do, we need to create a virtual environment. Okay, so how to create the virtual environment? So there is a command for that. So to create the virtual environment in the Anaconda, using the Anaconda, so the first thing you'll have to do is to create a folder where you will be having all of your Python files. And so this is the folder where the virtual environment will be installed. So it can be any folder at any location in your system. So this is where I have just created this blank folder. So I will copy the path. Okay, and the next thing I will do, I will open the Anaconda prompt. Okay, Anaconda prompt, and I will go to that path. So first I will go to the D drive and CD Control V and enter. So now I am in the folder where I want to install the Anaconda virtual environment. Okay, next thing I will have to do is to open or run the command that will allow me to install the virtual environment. So the command we have to create the virtual environment is this, which is conda create -n, and then we have the name. You can give any name here. So I'm using here OpenAI demo. And for this virtual environment of Python, we are using the version 3.10. Okay, and then -y. Okay. So this is the whole command we have to create the virtual environment. And remember that the virtual environment is being created on this particular folder. So if we press enter, so it will take some time to create the virtual environment. So again, the benefit is that we are using a specific version of Python that will that will make sure that we will not be getting any error because maybe the version is not stable or not supported. So that's the benefit of using the virtual environments, and it will not conflict with the main Python version that we have on the main system. Okay. So let's wait for it to install the virtual environment, and then we will move on to the next step. So let's see what we have here. Okay, still working on. And then all the dependencies that we will install will be installed on this particular virtual environment. So we can have multiple and many virtual environments. Each virtual environment could be for a specific purpose, will have a different number of dependencies and so on. Okay, so that's the right way of using the Python or for any other programming purpose. Okay, so now we have the virtual environment installed. So again, we started with going to the particular directory, and then we use this command, and it took a few seconds, like 30-40 seconds, to do all of the creation of the virtual environment. Now once the virtual environment has been created, the next thing we'll have to do is to activate the environment, and this is the command we have to activate the environment. And later on, if we want to deactivate, so this is the command for the deactivation. So let's activate. So this is conda activate, and the name of the environment, AI demo. Okay, so press enter. And you will see here that in the parenthesis, this is OpenAI demo. So this virtual environment is now enabled, which means we can use this virtual environment in our Python files in the Visual Studio Code. All right. So that is one step. Now the next step is, of course, to use the Visual Studio Code and all of the Python files. So let's go to that particular step. Okay, so what we will do is, again, we will go to the same folder where we have installed the virtual environment. We will right click, and if we click on more options, so here we have the option of open with code. So we are assuming that we already have installed the Visual Studio Code. So we click here, which means the Visual Studio Code will open in this particular folder. Okay, so we have here the Visual Studio Code. Okay, now once we have the Visual Studio Code, the first thing that we will do is to create one file. And in order to do that, we will just click on this plus sign, the first one, and we will create a file which is called requirements. You can give any name, .txt. Requirements.txt is the first file that you need to create. Now, what this will have all the dependencies that we need to install in order to make sure that everything will work smoothly. Okay, so that is what we will have in this requirements.txt file. So what are the dependencies that we need? So here we have the three dependencies. So the first dependency we need here is the OpenAI, and for that we are using a specific version of 0.28. Then the other dependency we need is the pandas. So the pandas is to create some data files, and we will see why we need the pandas for any specific purpose. And the other dependency we need here is the python.env. Now this .env is the dependency that will allow us to extract the OpenAI API key from the environment. So it will create one environmental variable, and from the environmental variable, it will get the OpenAI key. And you will see in few seconds that what is the whole purpose of all these three dependencies. So these are the three dependencies. So I'll just save the file. Okay, then the next thing we will do is create one more file. So click on file, and the name of the file will be, it's not the name, but the extension will be called .env. Okay, .env, and press enter. Okay, so it's a file that will have all of the environmental variables. Now we need to store the OpenAI API key in some environmental variable, and then the Python will be able to access that API key. Okay, so that is the whole purpose of the .env. All right. Now, one of the environmental variable we need is the API key from OpenAI. So, if you recall from the previous video, you will be able to generate your API keys on the OpenAI website. So, whatever API key you have, you just copy the API key and you need to paste here. Okay. So, first of all, let me just zoom in a little bit so that it will be easier to view all of the code. Okay. Okay, so what you will have to do, you just need to paste your API key. So it will be saved in this variable OpenAI underscore API underscore key. So make sure you use the same variable name equals to, in the double quotes, the API key. So make sure you use your own API key. And so this is what you will have to do, and just save. So this is the only thing we will have in the .env file. So once we have both of these files, we'll create one more file that will allow us to use the Python code. So we'll just call it OpenAI dot IPYNB. So this extension is important, IPYNB. So this is the extension which will allow us to create to use the Python files. Now it is exactly the same thing that we use in the Google Colab. Okay, we'll be able to generate the code and each and everything. Now the next thing that we will have to do is to make sure that we are using the right virtual environment. Okay, to make sure that we are using the right virtual environment, and for that we'll just click here on select kernel, and then we'll click here on Python environments. Yeah, and we will go for the environment that we have created. So this is the environment that we have here, OpenAI demo. Okay, and we are using 3.10. So we just click here, and now we are using the OpenAI demo. So we are using this specific version of the Python. So this is the virtual environment that we had created. So once you have created the virtual environment, you need to load the virtual environment, and we have created all these three files. So we have the .env file that has the OpenAI key, and then we have the requirements.txt. So here we have the dependencies that we need for this example, and this is the main file which will have the Python code, and this file is exactly like the Google Colab. So to write any line of code, we just click here on the code button. So it will add a new cell, and we can just run any command to see if everything is working fine. So we can say print, for example, my name. Okay, and if we run this command, we can just click on the run button, execute cell. Very first time this message running cell requires the package, so we can click on install. So this is only for the first time. So once it will download all the required packages, so you will see the output here, which means now everything is working fine. So once we have done all the setup and we are using the virtual environment here, uh, the last thing before we can start executing all of this Python code is to download and install these dependencies. Okay, so we have identified all of the dependencies on this text file. So what we will do is we will go back to the prompt, Anaconda prompt, and we'll make sure that the virtual environment, which we are calling it as Open AI demo, is currently active. And if it is active, you will see this in the parenthesis. Okay, the name of the virtual environment. And by default, since beginning, we are within this particular path. Now, what you will have to do once everything is set, you just need to run this command. This is pip install -r requirements.txt. So this is the txt file that we have, which includes all the dependencies, and this is the command you will run. Okay, so you write this command and press enter. It will take 30-40 seconds to download and install all of the dependencies. So we have three dependencies: OpenAI and some of the other dependencies. So it will download and install all of the dependencies. So this is the log for that. I already have downloaded the dependencies. So this is just one line of code that you will have to execute and press enter. So once everything is done, and so you will get this successfully installed message, and you will be back to the prompt. Okay, so this is what you will do. And once everything is all set, you will go back to the Visual Studio Code, and we already have executed one print command, that is just to make sure that the Python has been installed properly. Now we will do the actual work, and for that, the first line of code we will do is the import statement, and we will import OpenAI. Okay, and other than that, we also need some of the other import statements as well. So other than the OpenAI, we need the OS, and we also need the load underscore dot env. Okay, so these are all the import statements that we need. All right, so we will execute this command. So everything is fine. And so once we have imported all of these three things, the next thing we will have to do is to get access to this API key, which will allow us to use any model at OpenAI. Okay, so this is the next thing we will do. So we'll add one more cell for the code. And to use the Open AI API key, so these are the three lines of code that we need to use. So we are making use of the load underscore dot env, which we are importing on this line. And then API key is equal to get env. So it will get the environment variable, which we have in this dot env file. Okay, so we will execute this cell. And to make sure that it has, get hold of the right API key, so we'll just print, and we will say here OpenAI API key. Okay, and we will execute just to check. Okay, fine. Yeah, it's getting the right API key. Once we have extracted the API key, now we will start using the large language models from OpenAI using this API key. So the next lines of code are extremely important. All right. So in order to directly access any model from OpenAI, so that is the code that we will be using. So what we have here, we are creating a variable called a response. So this could be any name. We are just calling it response. And then it is OpenAI dot chat completion dot create. And within the parentheses, there are different parameters that we need to pass on. So the first one we have is the name of the model. So this could be any legitimate model which is being offered by the OpenAI. So make sure that the name of the model should exactly be the same as per the OpenAI website. So currently for this example, we are using the GPT 3.5 Turbo. And then we need to pass on different messages. So the first message is the system prompt. So system prompt basically is to design or is to modify the behavior of the large language model. So here in the system prompt, we are specifying that you are an expert in SEO. So basically this settles or this defines the tone for the large language model. So it could be any prompt, and the details we will see in the prompt engineering section in the coming videos. And the second message we have is by you, by the user. So this is going to be your prompt, exactly like you write the prompt in the ChatGPT website. So the prompt by your side is, here we have, for example, what are the latest trends in marketing? So this is the question that you are asking, and this question will be forwarded to this particular model, and this model knows that the model is an expert in SEO, and as per that assumption, the model will give you the answer. Okay, so this is the whole code that we want to use. Then there are some other parameters, so I will just delete some of these parameters and we will discuss that in a while, one by one. So we don't need those parameters as of now. So this is the whole thing we need in order to directly access any model on OpenAI website. All right. So let's run the code and let's see what will be the output we will generate. All right. So it has been successfully executed. It took around 5 seconds. And to see that what is the output that has been generated, we need to print this variable, which is response, because each and everything that has been generated as the output has been saved in this variable. So let me print the response. Okay. All right. So let's execute. And here we have. Okay. Now again, this is the JSON format, and it will have lots of stuff that we may not need as of now. But let's go through what are the information we have. So we have the name of the model that we are using, and then this is the actual output that is the most important for us. So this is the actual output of our question. Okay, so which is stored in this content thing, and we'll come back to this in a while. Other than that, we have another thing which is the tokens, that how many tokens have been consumed by this prompt. So this is the input prompt. Okay, and the completion tokens are where this is the important stuff. The total tokens we have 221. Okay, based on the output, this is the output we have. So the lengthier the output, more tokens it will consume. And again, you need to know that based on the number of tokens, the price will be calculated. And as we know that we already have paid $5 to use the API, so from that API some amount will be deducted based on the number of tokens that we are consuming. You can also calculate the number of tokens directly using the OpenAI website. So if you copy all of this content, okay, if you copy all of this output here, and if you visit a website, which is the platform.openai.com/tokenizer, and if you paste your output here, okay, if you paste your output here, so this will show you the total number of tokens that have been consumed. Okay, so you can get an idea that how many tokens are being consumed based on the output. Okay. All right. Now again, we don't need to view all of this log here in the print statement. So what we can do, we can restrict that what we want to see here. So what we can do, instead of printing the whole response, we can just print the response dot choices dot message dot content, because again, within this response variable, we need to go inside the choices. So here we have the choices, and then we'll go to the first index. Okay, and then we'll go inside the message, and then we will go inside the content. So content will give us the actual output. So if we run this print, so we can see here, so this is what we are actually looking for. This is the actual output that matters the most. Okay. So this is the code that we need in order to directly hit any model at the OpenAI website. So there are some more parameters that we can work on. So the first parameter we have here is the max underscore tokens. Okay. Max underscore tokens, if we say, for example, equals to 25, which means that the output will be limited to 25 tokens only. So here we have this output, which is again very lengthy, but if we want to limit this output, we can say that max underscore tokens equals to 25. And if we run this code again, and if we print what has been generated, so this is the whole thing we have here. And if we copy all of this output here, copy, and if we go to this website, and if we paste the output 25 and go down, so here we have max tokens 25. So this is total 25 tokens. So that's what we can do here. We can use this max condition. So that is one useful feature that can be used. Then we have another useful feature, which is called the temperature. Okay, now temperature will be between 0 and 1 if the temperature is equal to 0, okay, or it is close to 0, for example 0.1 or 0.2, which means that our output will be very generic. Our output will be very much close to the question that is being asked here, and the system or the model will not add any random answer or any random values. Okay, so it will stay within the context. If the temperature is equal to 1 or it is close to 1, for example 0.9 or 0.8, which means in the output there will be more randomness, and it is possible that the output that has been generated by the model is not within the context. Okay, so you can play around with this temperature parameter, but the rule of thumb is to use somewhere between 0.5. So for example 0.6 or 0.4, so that depends. Okay, so that is the temperature parameter that can be used. Another parameter which is also very important is the n number. So for example, if we say n equals to 2, which means that the system will generate two outputs. Okay, so for example, here we have only one output, this, but if for n equals to 2, there will be two different outputs. If we go n equals to 3, which means there will be three different outputs. Okay, so that is the purpose of the n. So let's go for n equal to 3, and let's say if we go for temperature equals to 0.6 and max tokens 25. And so if we run this code, all right, and now if we want to see the output, okay, now because we are restricting here that we just want to see the first index. So if let's say we know that we have three outputs, so we can have three print statements for each index. So this is for the second, and this is for the third. And now if we run, so here we have three different outputs. Okay, so we have three different outputs, which would be a little bit different from each other, because again we are using a different number of temperatures, so there will be more randomness in one of the output and so on. Okay. But the basic idea is you can use this n equals to any number, and you can set the temperature, and you can also set the max tokens. Okay, so that is how you can use the Python code to directly access any model of OpenAI. All you have to do is to change the model. Okay, another thing that you can do is that you are not restricted to use just one prompt. Okay, you can use multiple prompts as well. So for example, if we use the same code, if I modify this same code, so let's say the first prompt, let me copy, and I will define multiple prompts here. So the first prompt is, uh, let's say, hi, uh, are you good in digital marketing. Okay, and this is going to be the prompt number one, and prompt number two is what are the latest trends in digital marketing. Okay, so this is prompt number one. Prompt number two, all you have to do is to add one more line of code and make sure to add the comma here. Okay, and the first prompt is going to be our prompt one, and the second one will be prompt two, and you can have more prompts as well, like prompt three, prompt four, and so on. And because again all these models, they have the memory, so they can keep that conversation in flow. And so if we run, so we'll keep the same, let's say that let's go for n equals to 1. We just need one output here, and temperature will keep it same. Max tokens will keep let's say 45, because again little bit lengthier answer. So these are the two prompts, whereas the system prompt will remain the same, that you are an expert in SEO, which again we can change from case to case. So let's run it. All right, so the output has been generated, and since we have only one output, so we just need one print statement. And let's go. Okay, yeah, so this is the output as an expert in SEO. Okay, and all the other stuff. Okay, and then again but again one thing is important, that it is keeping both of these prompts in consideration. So whatever different prompts you have, so it will keep those prompts in consideration, and then will give you the answer. So you can have multiple prompts to begin with, and later on you can you have a further detailed conversation. So that is one more thing that can be done with any large language model. So let's try a couple of more examples. So again, uh, I will copy this code, and I will just add them here. Okay. Now, for example, instead of giving a simple prompt, you can give, for example, let's go for the language translation. So let's say, please translate this text in Arabic. Okay. And the prompt, for example, we have is, hello, how are you? All right. Okay. So again, the same thing. And you are, let's say, again, it's not that much required. So you are an expert in language uh, translation. All right. And the prompt is this question. So please translate this in Arabic. Hello, how are you? And this is the prompt, each and everything. And we will be printing this. So we can just add here as well. So this is what will be there in the print. So if we run, yeah, so here we have the Arabic translation, which is accurate. Okay. Marhaba, kif halik? Okay, fine. All right. So another example, let's say, maybe we can use it for the sentiment analysis. So let me copy this code again, or we can just change the prompt here. Uh, can you analyze this sentiment? All right. So for example, the movie was great. Okay, so whether it's a good sentiment or a bad sentiment, and everything remains the same. And let's say we'll not change this system content, and the prompt will be changed here. Fine. And let me delete this one. We don't need it. Uh, okay. So if we run, okay. The sentiment, the movie was great, is positive. It indicates that the speaker enjoyed, and okay, fine. So it's a positive sentiment. So again, it depends on the prompt, all on the prompt, what type of prompt you are providing. But the main thing is that how to access the models using the API, which opens up the doors for creating any type of user experience. You can create your own chatgpt.com kind of website. You can use your API. Definitely it will cost you some amount, but again you can give different services to the community, maybe translation services or image creation services and so on. But at the end, at the back, this is the whole story we have. Like, you will have different prompts, you will have different settings that you want to use and so on. And in the upcoming videos we will see that how we can train any existing models at the OpenAI website. Maybe we can train them with some of our own data, how to do the customization of those models, and how to make use of some of the other features which are available at the OpenAI platform. So that is all from this video. So I hope this video will give you some new information. And so we will continue with more important and more fun stuff in the next videos. And thank you for watching.